man. I'm wondering what you're looking for when you're scouting nowadays. I met Jason Timpf out there in Las Vegas. He's great on YouTube working for you guys on the NBA. And I read an article about how you saw this clip of him and then instantly knew. Do you know what you're looking for? Or is it one of these, as said by famously the Supreme Court, you know it when you see it kind of deals?
It's different. I mean, I was always a huge Shannon Sharpe fan. I remember he came on my show when I first started on FS1, and he came on for about 15 minutes. And I literally, when he left, I went upstairs and told the bosses, do not let him leave the building. Hire him now. He's theatrical. He's funny. He's, got some intellectual and humor bandwidth. He can talk about a lot of stuff. And then Draymond Green worked with LeBron, and I listened to him, and I thought, they just don't quite know in LeBron's camp what to do with him. I'm like, this guy just needs a little coaching and a little guidance, but there's something really there. It was almost like he was a quarterback who had a defensive coach and needed an off. It was almost like Jared Goff with Jeff Fisher. He just needed the right coach and the right feel. He got McVay, and he's in Super Bowls. I felt like Draymond, the talent was there. He just needed a little refinement and a little guidance, and he immediately became a star. So it's a lot of different things. Some people, John Middlecoff was in the Bay Area, and a buddy called me and said, I think he's really good. Radio doesn't know what to do with him. And then I listened to him, and I just thought he was way too good to be on the beach. And then I liked that he was an NFL scout. And he was very connected and a hustler, and we developed a friendship. And it's a lot of different things. Again, I'm not afraid to miss. I've taken swings on people, and sometimes my intuition's poor. So, we're not, I think I texted Peter Chernin and Mark Cuban when I started the whole thing, and I just asked him, give me a piece of advice. And, some of the advice was very, it was very similar, which is don't fall in love with your idea. Have a vision for the company, but when it comes to the day-to-day details, be nimble. Things are going to change rapidly. And I've tried to always remember that. It's not about being right. Guys tend to get paralyzed by being right. It's about getting it right. So I call Logan Swain all the time, and I'm like, I've got an idea. He shoots down 6 of 7. And that's okay. I'll say, what do you think about this person? Blah, blah, blah. We'll go look at the feed, and it just doesn't work. So I'm often wrong, but it's okay. Again, I'll go back to the beginning. I like the journey. I don't care if it's always right. I'm just looking for different people and different avenues of entertainment. And sometimes you see it instantly, and then sometimes it's a process, and you do homework, and it's just, the whole thing is fun to me.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by what works, and it's still ineffable to me. I don't completely know why it works, right? I have a general sense of why Shannon Sharpe connects and why that podcast of his is this huge hit, but I couldn't explain it on a granular level. Just like I might not be able to explain why something doesn't work. I just know that energy, commitment, working hard gives you a shot at it. But
he works really hard. He is really committed. Yeah, really committed. He and Draymond Green. Shannon's the hardest worker I've ever met in sports. I mean, he is. I mean, we've literally said, hey, you could take a day off. Like, he is just really wants to entertain the audience. He's an incredibly hard worker.
So how does that manifest itself? Is this another one of these things like the Daily Show and Jon Stewart, where people just see the product and they don't think much about what goes into it? I think a lot of people might watch Shannon Sharpe and go, this guy's just naturally charismatic, and that's why this thing works. So what does that look like? What does Shannon working hard look like?
Well, when he came over, our first takeaway is, okay, you got Club Shay Shay, but we think that you would be great doing a few nights a week, a night show. And we felt at the Volume, there was an opening at night. And this is something I pitched to ESPN years ago. I'm like, all these daytime opinion shows, there's a lot of nights in sports that are slow, especially out of football. And Shannon had a relationship with Ocho Cinco, and those two just are funny together. They brought in Gilbert Arenas for basketball. I think he does an excellent job. I would have I didn't know he was interested in that. And so, he worked very hard. We created a show called Nightcap, and it was popular. And again, Shannon puts in the time. There were nights that weren't scheduled. He wanted to go on and talk about stuff. And there's no substitute for effort. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you go look at, Brady's career or Derek Jeter's career, they grind their ass off. That's it. And they're usually really disciplined and really focused. And that's what Shannon is as a performer. And so is Jason Timpf and Middlecoff. I mean, Middlecoff, you can't keep him off the podcast during the football season. He's got something to say. I want my guys to have, a Tuesday or a Wednesday off. Go hang out with your wife or girlfriend or kids. I don't want to work anybody to death, but I just think, our team is mostly people who have been overlooked. Draymond Green's second round, people who have been let go somewhere. We've got a real work ethos, and I'm really proud of our team. I really am. I just think Shannon is throwing ideas at us monthly, and I just feel very fortunate.
It's funny what you're talking about. It's so true. Hard work actually works. It actually does. For whatever reason, we've gotten out of the gospel of that. They used to have the Horatio Alger tales about how hard work would pay off. And I know there's this consideration that it won't accomplish everything for somebody and misfortune befalls people and it's not their fault. But it's definitely something I'm trying to instill in my sons because it works. And when you mentioned Brady, I think Brady is going to be successful as a broadcaster for your company. Yeah. And you can say it's Pollyanna-ish or whatever, but I know he works hard. People are saying he works hard. Therefore, I expect that to work. It's not crazy, but you don't hear people talk about that too much for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, it's not glamorous. I mean, that's why I think Twitter has so many bad actors. Twitter is easy. Writing books, go ask Bill Simmons, the basketball book, the book of basketball. Bill's a very, very fluid, gifted writer. I asked him, "What, you gonna write another book?" He's like, "Never." It was so hard.
Oh yeah.
This stuff Twitter's easy. TikTok, to be great at anything is hard, but that's why I don't spend too much time consuming too much of it. Any amateur can go on and have, get clicks and say silly stuff. I mean, God, how many conspiracy theories on Trump now? I said this today on the air. Don't confuse inefficiency or marginal talent by a Secret Service agent for a conspiracy theory. There's very few people who are great at anything. Not every pilot or doctor is an A. There's a lot of C graduates. And, obviously Biden's got the best Secret Service team, right? The sitting president does. Yeah. And there were mistakes made. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy theory. Average people, new people on a fresh assignment that haven't been there before make a lot of mistakes. And so, that's why I'm always very wary of what I just try to dial back my consumption of certain things. I like things that are hard. I like to read. I like a Netflix, a documentary. They're hard. People have put time in them. And that's the stuff I trust, not just some random, somebody that can spend 4 minutes, filtering a tape or an image and get clicks. There's not a lot of win for me, the consumer. I think a lot of it, you get fooled. Yeah. You go down rabbit holes and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
That's a good insight, that Twitter is the odd thing, or X or whatever we're calling it now, that somebody can do well without being a hard worker, and that might skew the conversation. I like that theory.